happening. And you mentioned there are teams that are ready to go and rescue the vehicle and the astronauts on board. How do you prepare for something like that, especially with so many different scenarios that could happen?
Sure. So we're lucky to have had about a decade of recovery experience with Cargo Dragon 1 in our previous trips to the International Space Station. That, along with our booster recovery missions, we've got a great team of recovery operators here who have a lot of offshore experience with our spacecraft. The system, though, that we took that experience, we built up a new crew recovery ship, two identical crew recovery ships, I should say, which have a lot of those lessons learned baked into the design of that ship and the operations. These new ships have complete medical facilities, an operational helipad, and redundant communications, power, and propulsion to make sure they're robust and ready for anything we encounter offshore. We've also done tons of training exercises with Spacex team, the NASA team, and the rescue forces I mentioned earlier, practicing capsule recovery, emergency scenarios where we have to get the crew out of the capsule while they're still in the water, as well as those helicopter evacuations, taking off and landing from the pad many times so that we make sure the team is ready to do that. They're all staged and ready. They feel ready to support, and will be ready to call on us if anything goes wrong today.
Awesome. It sounds like Bob and Doug are in some really good hands and will be safe no matter what occurs on the vehicle. So thank you, Nick, for joining us again, for walking us through all of those details. I hope you're just as excited as we are for launch coming up here very, very shortly now. So we're going to send it over to KSC to Lauren.
Thank you, Jesse. So as you just heard, fueling is about to begin at T-minus 35 minutes. We're about 50 seconds away from that. And so we're getting really, really close to the first launch of astronauts into orbit from American soil since 2011. The launch escape system is armed, which, as you know, happens before fueling. And Dragon propellant load, that's the propellants that are inside of the Dragon capsule, not the rocket. Prop load for Dragon took place weeks ago and just a few miles down the road in what we call Dragonland. And those propellants, they are MMH, or monomethyl hydrazine, which is the fuel that we use. It's hypergolic fuel. And NTO, or nitrogen tetraoxide, that's the oxidizer. Those two come together and they ignite in space to propel the vehicle. You don't need that TTEB or a third thing to ignite because hypergolic propellants don't require it. You just need the fuel and the oxidizer. And as you just heard, propellant load has started on Falcon 9, and that's awesome. All right, so that bipropellant system feeds all of the engines on Dragon. So Dragon has 12 service section engines in each, so there's 3 in each quad. 3, 3, 3, and 3. Those are used for on-orbit maneuvering for Dragon. There's also 4 additional Dracos that are underneath the nose cone for large Delta V maneuvers that the vehicle will perform. But the engines that Nick Pacone was talking about earlier are Super Draco engines. We have 2 in each quad of the vehicle, so 8 total. And those are bigger engines with a high flow propellant system, and those are what lift Dragon off of Falcon 9 in the unlikely event of emergency that requires us to get off of Falcon. Now, you probably remember, Mercury, Apollo, Soyuz, they have that big pointy tower on top. That's the launch escape system for those vehicles. It's actually just another rocket on top of the spaceship that lifts the vehicle off. In the case of Dragon, our escape system is integrated into the vehicle completely. And so that's just better from one less thing you have to jettison every single flight. But it also allows us to have escape capability from the pad before T0 all the way through to orbit. And so even at the very last minute, if we needed to get off of stage 2 while we're in space, we could actually escape to orbit. That's the escape system for little baby Dragon here.
Thanks, Lauren, and thanks for walking us through that, because I think it's really important that people understand that critical safety capability, and that's the whole point when we hear that launch escape system is armed. What that means is that in an instant, they can separate from Falcon 9, shoot up into the air, and they can splash down safely in the Atlantic Ocean under Dragon's parachutes. And it was designed to do that. So now that fueling is underway, it's been going on for about 2 minutes now. So they have that safety capability ready to go on standby in an instant if they need it. And so we want to go over to Hawthorne now for an operational update from John Innsbrucker. John?
Fuel and stage 2 fuel, all flow rates tracking nominally.
We're at T-minus 32 minutes, counting down. These final minutes, everything's still looking good for Falcon 9 and Dragon for an on-time launch. Falcon 9 did begin propellant load at T-minus 35 minutes at planned. Now on the Falcon 9, we use a fuel and oxidizer as the propellants that power it. The fuel is commonly known as RP1. That's rocket propellant grade 1 kerosene. The oxidizer is densified liquid oxygen, also called LOX. Densified means it is kept much colder than typical for launch vehicles. This allows for more oxidizer to be loaded into the first and second stages. Now with the fuel and oxidizer on hand, we need an ignition source to complete that fire triangle, as we call it. For this, Falcon 9 uses a fluid called T-Teb. It ignites in the presence of oxygen and gives off a green-colored flame. Now, it's hard to see on the first stage ignition due to the water that'll be spraying on the pad, but you might just see the green flare as the second stage engine ignites following stage separation over 2.5 minutes into flight. Now, currently, first stage fuel tank is about 10% full. The first stage, as a reminder, as you look on the left side of your screens, the first stage is the long white cylinder at the bottom, topped off by the black cylinder. So over 2/3 of the rocket is that first stage. So the fuel tank is getting loaded. We're also loading the liquid oxygen into the first stage also. The second stage, which is the top 1/3 between the Dragon and the black cylinder, that's the white second stage. That is being loaded with fuel right now. That's about 8% loaded at this moment. Liquid oxygen loading is going to begin on second stage at T-minus 16 minutes 30 seconds. Liquid oxygen loading will continue on both stages all the way down to the last few minutes of the count. We're also loading helium into pressure vessels on the stages. That's used to pressurize tanks in flight as the propellant is pulled out by the strong Merlin turbopumps. On board the Dragon spacecraft, astronauts are monitoring systems while the propellant is loaded into Falcon 9. While we mentioned we had trained them with sounds that we had recorded on board. They've been through most of a propellant load, and they are now experiencing those sounds and vibrations.
Stage 1,
the range
helium load
continues to
started.
report no problems. They are go to support launch. Weather, the last of the red conditions cleared up about 15 minutes ago. Everything is marginal but acceptable on the weather. We'll continue to watch all the way through the countdown. Now, as a reminder, today we are now into an instantaneous launch window now that we've begun propellant loading. So at this point, if we hear a hold for any reason, we'll have to stand down and target our backup launch opportunity tomorrow, May 31st.
Thanks, John. For Demo 2, Bob and Doug's flight to station will take about 19 hours, and their journey is fairly similar to the trip our Cargo Dragon makes back and forth to the International Space Station, but with two noticeable differences, and that's docking and splashdown.
And as we await T-minus 0 in just under 29 minutes from now, the ground operations teams are doing a series of system checks to make sure Dragon and Falcon 9 are both ready for liftoff. And we're continuing to get live views inside the capsule with Bob and Doug, and you're now also looking in firing room 4 down there at the Cape.
Once we hit T0 and a successful launch occurs, we will watch Falcon 9 and Dragon make their ascent until the Falcon 9 first and second stage separates and sends Dragon on its way to the space station.
And at this point, mission operators will prepare Dragon for on-orbit operations, where the vehicle will execute a series of burns that gradually raise its orbit to align more closely with the space station, as you can see in this animation. And just after putting Dragon into the same orbital plane as the station, the teams will get ready for Dragon's approach and docking maneuvers.
The next Dragon will make its approach and actually dock with the space station. And this is a very different process from what we've seen with Dragon cargo deliveries in the past, which use a process called berthing. Berthing requires a spacecraft to approach the station and then stop so a crew member can maneuver the station's robotic arm to capture the spacecraft. Docking on this version of Dragon can be done autonomously with no crew on board the station. It's typically a faster process, both when arriving and leaving, but it does still require pinpoint accuracy to approach safely.
Once captured, a spacecraft then gets attached to a common berthing mechanism, the same type of port that we use to connect each of the modules on the station together. It's a little bit slower of a process, but the hatches are significantly larger than the docking ports, which makes them perfect for bringing up those really big cargo items.
Dragon will spend up to 120 days docked before preparing to return home. Following successful completion of Dragon's test objectives and cargo loading operations, the crew will close the cabin, perform final system checks, and configure the vehicle for undocking. Once the automated undocking sequence is complete, Dragon will complete 2 departure burns using its Draco engines, pushing it away from the space station.
Then next up on the trip, deorbit entry and landing, or splashdown, which is going to cover all the operations following that final departure maneuver. That's going to include events like the trunk separation, closing of the nose cone, a deorbit burn, and then eventually, as they get into the atmosphere, the deployment of the drogue and the main parachutes, and all of that ends with splashdown right off the Florida coast. At that point, teams from SpaceX will move in with their recovery ship, grab the capsule out of the water, and work to get Bob and Doug out of Dragon after a successful mission in space. So we are 26 minutes away from launch. Fueling of Falcon 9 is continuing. Let's check in one more time down with the team at Kennedy. Murray?
All right, thanks, Dan. We are so pumped right now because things have cleared up and it looks like we might actually do this today. If you're just joining us, we are now 25 minutes, 46 seconds and counting from the first launch of astronauts to the International Space Station from U.S. soil in 9 years. This will mark the beginning of a new era where more people will be able to fly to space than ever before. And we want to share with you the results of a poll we asked a little earlier. If you could go to the moon, it's not where the astronauts are going today, they're going to the space station, but if you could go to the moon, would you rather visit the South Pole where no one has been before or the Apollo 11 landing site? And it was a pretty even split. We had 46% of you say you would go to the moon's South Pole, and 54% of you would go to the Apollo 11 landing site. I kind of side with the Apollo 11 landing site because I'm a history buff and I want to see where Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin set foot. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Lauren, which place would you go?
I'm with you on that one. And I would love to go see that flag there and those footsteps, those footprints there. Still be there, right? There's no wind
It should
there.
still be there. Leland, how about you?
I think I'm with both of you because it's just like, the meatball, the classic.
Yeah.
Going to the classic spot, and that's where all of it started. That's where all that inspiration came, even though I was an antenna engineer not seeing it. But besides that, that's history.
And hopefully maybe it wouldn't have to be one or the other.
That's true.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, yeah, we're going to learn more from going where we've never been before.
Exactly.
And so we need to go to the South Pole too. And we are thrilled to see all of you following along online. Thank you for answering our poll. And we're going to go over to Tahira, who's been monitoring all the action with less than 25 minutes to go. Tahira, I'm sure things are heating up online.
Hey, Marie, I mean, you're completely right. Now that we have that go for launch, people are on the edge of their seat right now, waiting on this historic moment to take flight. As you can see, photos are still coming in of just everyone around the country showing their excitement for this launch. And it's really been a touching thing to see how everyone's kept this excitement going from Wednesday's first attempt. So we just took a look at numbers, and we are now over 3 million people tuning in for this historic launch. And so for me personally, I just want to wish Bob and Doug the best of luck. This will be my own first time watching humans lift off to space from the United States, and it's just going to be a super emotional moment. For that, Marie, back to you at Kennedy for these last minutes before launch.
All right, thanks, Tahira. And Leland, we got 23 minutes and some change to go. What do you think Bob and Doug are feeling right now?
I think, they're very calm, cool, and collected as test pilots, but I think they're thinking about what are the steps that I have to take if a malfunction or something happens. So the nominal stuff is all kind of automated, but if something happens where they have to intervene with those touch screens, that's what they're thinking.
Mm-hmm. And we're just inside 23 minutes now. So on Wednesday, we were 5 minutes further in the countdown when we heard that call to scrub, and the weather was still very touch and go at this point on Wednesday. But today, it at least for right now, I don't want to jinx it. I'm afraid to even say it out loud, but it looks better today.
Yeah, and it feels like, whew, I'm feeling it a lot more than I did on Wednesday.
Right.
And, speaking of Bob and Doug and them being really calm and cool and collected, haven't had the opportunity to be in meetings with them and to watch them train. I have to say, and to all of my friends who work with them every single day, the feedback is always just what great people they are.
Right.
And just how not just bright and sharp they are, but just good people.
Right.
And around the office, we often refer to them as the dads.
The dads?
They're the dads. They're dads. They are dads,
Okay.
and we've met their families. And when you see people on that very personal level, it starts to mean so much. They are a part of our team. They're not a customer. They're our team. They're not a payload. They're our team. They're our family. And so we're just so excited to see the dads up there today.
Yeah. Go dads.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to go send it over to Gary for an update from Houston. Gary?
Hey Marie, the space station team here is focused. All eyes are on the system checks that are happening across the board, and we're listening in as we close in on launch, and I can tell you that things are looking very good. Chris Cassidy will be watching from the International Space Station, right now flying over the Pacific Ocean. It's heading to cross right over the launch pad. We might even get some good views from the station.
Hello.
Capturing those. We'll have the launch view on the big screen up front, and everyone's excited to see our two crew members on their way to the International Space Station. But before we get to it, I just want to pass on good luck from the entire flight operations community here in Houston. It's always exciting to be doing something wholly new and history-making.
Can you guys hear me, guys?
And we can't wait to see our team members, Bob and Doug, in low Earth orbit and heading to the International Space Station. That's it from us here in Mission Control Houston. I'll send it back over to the team in Hawthorne for the latest happening there. John.
T-minus 20 minutes, 30 seconds. We're
Strong
continuing to
started.
count down. Everything is still looking good for launch of Falcon 9 and Dragon. 22 minutes, 45 seconds after the hour.
Stage
Right
2
now on the
RP1
right-hand
mode is
side,
complete.
you can see a large white cloud coming off of the strongback. That is normal. As we get ready to load the second stage with liquid oxygen, we have to chill in the plumbing lines going up that strongback. And so as we relieve pressure, the moist, humid Florida air condenses around it, and that gives you the cloud. So that tells us that things are actually on schedule. We did begin propellant load at T-minus 35 minutes. Fuel loading on the second stage, I believe we just heard the call out that it is complete. First stage fuel load is continuing, and right now that's a little more than, that's about 60% of the way full. So things are looking good. Second stage is getting ready to begin the liquid oxygen loading. After they finish chilling in the lines that you see on the monitor, they'll begin the load at T-minus 16 minutes and 30 seconds.
Okay.
The range right now is go, ready to support. Weather continues to be go. As we inch our way closer, we're keeping our fingers crossed.
All right, guys. So, pretty exciting news. I mean, event happening today. This is the first time that American astronauts are going to fly to the space station on an American aircraft, or American-built aircraft made by the man, Elon Musk, and his team, of course, obviously, right? Yeah, it's pretty cool. Look at it. Look at how pretty that thing is. Those things on the bottom, those are the Draco motors, I think. Those are rockets that have hyperbolic fuel, which is fuel that doesn't need an igniter. They just kind of push it in there, and that's all arm, I think, right now, because they're fueling it. It takes about 40 minutes And of course, I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just repeating what I've been hearing the past hour. But, anyways, pretty exciting news. What do you guys think about this? Like, are we gonna make it? Like it's there's all the yes, yeah, it does look like a penis, but what doesn't? I mean, there's so many things that we do that look like penises. What can we tell you? We're kind of obsessed with penises as humans. 60%, yeah, that's quite a lot of fuel right now. So essentially what they're doing is they're loading up that bomb. It's a missile, right? But it's, yeah, right now it's probably the most dangerous part of this mission. And that's why the astronauts have to be locked in, strapped in, and the safety, whatever mechanisms are on, the whatever, the bailout thing, right? I don't know what they call them, but it's armed so that press a button. If anything starts blowing up underneath them, then that capsule just, jettisons and it goes up in the air, hopefully saving the astronauts, right? Because this is the first time that we have American astronauts in this vehicle, and so yeah, the last thing that they want is, I mean, any of them, right? I mean, any flight or whatever, you don't want people to die or whatever, but this one in particular is special because it's the first time, so you don't want to screw it up on the first try. Leave that for later tries. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. I think we're gonna make it. I think we're gonna go to space.
Load has now started on
Let's see what they're talking
stage
about.
2.
Okay, it's stage 2.
They're going to be doing a series of burns on the way uphill towards the International Space Station 5, spread out over the first 16 hours or so of their flight until they get much closer, and it's time for that approach and docking. And we are expecting that with an on-time launch to happen today. That'll be coming tomorrow in the afternoon. All right, now that we're under 16 minutes away, we have a special guest joining us. I'm going to toss it over to Jesse.
We are T-minus 15 minutes and 45 seconds from liftoff of our second demonstration mission today, and we have the
That
honor
is,
of having...
by the way, it's gonna take 19 hours for them to reach the International Space Station, which is right there. The International Space Station is just right there. Yeah, it's flying like crazy, going around the Earth like really crazy, right? Really fast. Why is it gonna take so long for them to reach that space station? What do you guys think? If you know the answer, you can post it there. I don't know. I think it's because they gotta synchronize with it. I mean, it's gonna take a few minutes to be up, I think, at the same height of it, but yeah, they gotta, I think they gotta synchronize with it at the same speed, and then slowly, kind of come together with it, and then I think that's probably what 19 hours. This seems like a long time or whatever, but that's what it's gonna be. By the way, someone posted about the riots going on, if we should really be concentrating. I don't know. I like to concentrate on positive things. I mean, don't get me wrong. I rant just as much as the next guy on injustice, especially of police brutality. I have strong feelings about that, right? I've been in the wrong side of the law for a long time, and I've never had good interactions with cops and stuff, but this is to be a bit too much. And you can concentrate in the riots and stuff, and you can even go and take part in it or whatever, but I don't know. I think it's kind of productive right now. I mean, look, trashing businesses and trashing one city, I realize it proves a point, right? But I don't know, it's kind of senseless, I think, and I don't know. There's also good stuff happening in the world right now, so I'm gonna concentrate and share the good stuff. I'm gonna let somebody else concentrate on that, right? And it's crazy because I think in 1969, when we first to the moon, I think I think the world was a bit of a mess also, right? 68 I think was particularly a really bad day for year for or a good year, I don't know, because there's a lot of stuff happening on when it came to social freedoms, right, for black people, for minorities and other stuff. So yeah, I think it just comes full circle. I think the world seems like it's a bit of a mess right now, but amidst all that, there's still also good stuff happening like this. I mean, I don't know, this is a good thing, you know. We're going to the space station on a rocket that they built, you know, Americans built here, not too far from here, right? I've seen that capsule with my own eyes. I was at SpaceX, I toured the thing, and I saw that they were working on that already. I couldn't take pictures of it, I couldn't take video of it, but I was there and I got to see it, and it's a pretty, you know, if you like, what's going on there? If you appreciate engineering and you know, well engineer stuff and over engineer, yeah, that is a thing of beauty. You know what I mean? Like, I wish I could have spent more time there, but I mean, I did spend like 2 hours walking around, talking to people that are building. They were welding. The guy handed me a part that was 3D printed out of metal, and there's a lot of 3D printed parts in these rockets, which is crazy to think about. But yeah, it was pretty impressive to see it, right? And so I think I'm excited to see it and take. I mean, you know, this capsule's been to space. I mean, not this particular one, but that design has been to space. It's just the only thing that's new today is that it's got astronauts, and that's I don't know. That sounds easy, but it's not the easiest thing in the world to do, I think.
All the way up to about the very top of North Carolina, and then we'll have 2A through 2E or 2 Echo, and that will be on the second stage, and that goes from North Carolina all the way up to about the tip of Newfoundland, so in the northern Atlantic, and then there is a zone of the northern Atlantic that we're going to avoid, and so you should hear the call out be something similar to forward to Shannon, and that just refers to Shannon, Ireland, which they'll be going off the coast of Ireland at the later stages of the second stage if they have to abort. So just prepping you now for some of those calls. You're hopefully going to hear that word nominal a whole lot on the way uphill. 10.5 minutes. Things are pretty quiet. As John I said, it'll pick up right at about 10 minutes. We'll wait for the crew just to confirm that their displays are in order. The crew is already strapped in and reported that they are go for launch. And we'll continue to watch the fuel gauges tick up on the Falcon 9 vehicle until fueling cuts off at just about 2 minutes prior to launch.
Dragon and SpaceX confirmed displays are configured for launch.
SpaceX Dragon displays are configured for launch.
Copy. Bob, Doug, on behalf of the entire SpaceX team, it's been a huge honor to help you get ready for today's historic mission.
Ooh, we're getting ready.
We're with you. Have an amazing flight and enjoy those views of our beautiful planet.
Ooh.
Thanks, Jay. It is absolutely our honor to be part of this huge effort to get the United States back in the launch business. We'll talk to you for more, but thank you.
Copy all. Thanks for those words.
The SpaceX core, so again, that voice that's going to be talking to Bob and Doug throughout their mission.
Is that
right
the countdown? Is it really 10 minutes to go?
Offering a few quick words. The crew to confirm their crew displays are configured for launch. We are coming up on 9 minutes and counting.
We've gotten through T-minus 10 minute with the crew discussions. Activity is now going to switch over to Falcon 9. Our next major event comes at T-minus 7 minutes. We begin what we call engine chill. Pre-valves will open. Those currently separate propellants on the first stage from getting down to the Merlin engines. We'll open the pre-valves. That'll allow fuel liquid oxygen to flow to the top of the pumps. And more importantly, when we open the valves, that'll allow us to begin chilling the 9 Merlin 1D turbopumps on the first stage engine. It'll take a few minutes to get them cold enough to where they would then be ready to pass the large amounts of liquid oxygen through the pumps and into the main thrust chambers when we get to engine ignition at T-minus 2 seconds. We don't want to try to run highly chilled liquid oxygen through a warm pump. You would flash that into gas, and running gas through a high-speed pump is not a good thing. So right now, we are waiting for T-minus 7 minutes. That'll start the engine chill. Shortly after that, we will also get the fuel shutdown.
So someone asked, what was the most interesting part about my tour at SpaceX? And to tell you the truth, the most, like, interesting, well, not interesting, the most shocking part to me was the fact that it was happening right there. Like, they had this building, and the people are doing the hardware there, the software, and then the rocket over here, the engine right there, the crew. They're all in this, like, thing. You can see them. You can, like, yell at the other guy right there, right? And they're all, like, doing this crazy stuff. I mean, it's, yeah, state of the art, right? State of the art, and stuff that's gonna go to space. Yeah, that seemed to me like that's too easy. You mean there's actually, you guys are building the stuff? Like, I don't know. For someone that hadn't ever seen that, you know, you think the experience when I went to Jet Propulsion Labs was a lot different, right? They have this room where you can't go in. Anybody that goes in there is a clean room, right? So because that's they're making the hardware that's gonna stay in space or is gonna end up in another planet. So it has to be clean. You have to scrub everything. So anything that you see through there has to be through a window and stuff. Now, at SpaceX, there's nothing like that. I mean, the guys were right there, you know, screwing things, and, you know, they were laying carbon fiber to do some of the tanks that are gonna probably on some of these rockets and stuff, and they're massive machines, but they're like in this little tiny room. It was pretty crazy to see that, and to think that it's happening right there, right in Hawthorne, right on the other side of those doors from the building that says SpaceX. That was pretty crazy to see, and that was kind of it was kind of shocking, to tell you the truth. I was like, really? That's the 3D printer and spin parts right there? Like, it just seems too easy. There was like no magic. You're always expecting magic, right? But in this instance, it didn't seem to be there. It just seemed like there's smart people and they're building these things, and it seems like it's a lot of work because there's like 1 million parts to these little rockets or these big rockets, and then it's just happening.
Picking up the humidity from the Florida air.
Are they chilling the engines already?
It looks like at this moment we're a little more than 90% full on the oxidizer on the first stage, ticking up towards that 80% mark on the second stage. We'll be counting down all the way till about 2 or 3 minutes, as John and I just said, until everything is loaded in
Falcon 9 heaters closing out.
And then we will be go for launch.
Dragon has transitioned to configure for terminal count.
I do believe
Vehicle tanks pressing for strong back retract.
I do believe they have toilets in that capsule. So
we're pressurizing the Falcon 9 tanks. We're going to open the clamp arm around the second stage and begin to retract the strong back. We'll move back about 2 degrees. That'll get us to the liftoff position. At liftoff, the strong back will then recline about 45 degrees away.
Started.
about 7 minutes to go, I believe. T-minus 7.
Stage 2, RP1 bleed.
Launch director called out the strong back retract has started. On the left, you'll see it go back just a couple of degrees.
Stage 1, RP1 bleed.
It's a lot of fuel. They're sitting on top of a bomb. It's a virtually a bomb.
Just 4 minutes away from liftoff. Again, at this moment, Bob and Doug are really just laser focused on those displays. They have insight directly into Dragon and the Falcon 9. They're able to see where their fuel loading is at, how everything's progressing down with the count.
AFTS final setup started.
3.5 minutes from launch.
I do believe some of these guys wear diapers. And I think they do occasionally take a crap on a diaper. It's just a part of being an astronaut, unfortunately. You really have to want to do this job.
I'll go bleed. Dragon has transitioned to terminal count and is on internal power. Stage 1, LOX load closed out.
Okay, we're at T-minus 2 minutes, 42 seconds. Stage 1 LOX load is closed out. Stage 2 will continue to load for about another half a minute or so. Once we get the completion of Stage 2 LOX loading, we have to vent down the line, so you'll see another large white cloud coming off of the strongback. That'll be normal. That'll happen around
transitioning to
T-minus 1 minute and 40 seconds.
1 minute, 40
Going on
seconds.
internal power now.
Come on.
Just a few seconds away from the Stage 2 LOX load being complete. It's been almost 9 years since we've been in this position. A lot of work done by thousands of people to get to this point. All our eyes focused on 2 now.
Come on.
Stage 2 LOX load is closed out. Propellant fills are complete.
I'm gonna go turn the TV on for my dad to see. He should see
Dragon is
this.
in auto idle.
Stage 2 LOX load complete. All fuel, all oxidizer on Falcon 9. 1 minute, 34 seconds to go till launch.
Ground gas closeouts is starting.
Falcon 9 is in startup. Dragon is in countdown. FTS is armed for launch.
Under a minute now, the FTS, the flight termination system, has been armed.
Dragon, SpaceX, go for launch.
SpaceX Dragon, we're go for launch. Let's light this candle.
T-minus 30 seconds.
Stage 1 tanks pressing for flight.
T-minus 15 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Liftoff of the Falcon 9 and Crew Dragon. Go NASA. Go SpaceX. Godspeed, Bob and Doug.
America has launched. And so rises a new era of American spaceflight, and with it the ambitions of a new generation continuing the dream. 20 seconds into flight, Stage 1 propulsion is nominal.
T-plus 30 seconds into this historic mission. Flying crew on board Dragon and Falcon 9, and look at them go.
Falcon power telemetry nominal.
M1D throttle down.
We're throttling down to get ready for the period of maximum dynamic pressure. We're in the throttle bucket. Reports say all systems are go.
Vehicle is supersonic.
Yeah.
Mach 1 on the Falcon 9.
M1D throttle up.
We're throttling back up to full power as we're through max Q.
Copy, 1 Bravo.
And we heard that 1 Bravo call out. That's just the second abort zone that they're in. They'll continue to be on this until the first stage has done its job and they switch over to the second. At this point, Bob and Doug pulling about 2.3 Gs, 2.3 times the Earth's gravity, already moving at over 1,500 miles per hour.
We've heard the call out for MVAC engine chill. That's getting the MVAC engine ready to light. That'll come at about 2:44 into flight. Right now, everything continuing to look good. Next major event coming up is going to be the triple. We'll have main engine cutoff of the 9 first stage engines, stage separation, and then ignition of the second stage engine to continue to carry astronauts into orbit. Coming up in about 20 seconds.
M1D throttle down.
We heard we're throttling down the Merlin engines on the first stage. And we have Miko.
Miko.
2 Alpha.
Falcon stage separation confirmed. Copy 2 Alpha.
Awesome.
MVAC ignition.
All right, we have stage separation confirmed. The first stage beginning its flight back. The second stage being powered by that single Merlin 1D vacuum engine has ignited and is now carrying Bob and Doug into orbit. So they're going to continue under the power of this second
Stage 2
stage,
propulsion is nominal.
which will cut off at SECO, or second engine cut off, at about 8 minutes and 44 seconds into today's flight. So a little over 5 minutes to go still on this second stage. You heard the call out 2 Alpha, so they're now in the longest abort zone that carries them all the way from about North Carolina up the eastern seaboard almost to Canada. Things looking good though, getting good call outs, nominal propulsion on that second stage. Bob and Doug continuing to make their way into orbit.
Nice. That seemed
SpaceX nominal trajectory.
pretty smooth.
Acquisition of signal in Bermuda.
SpaceX Dragon nominal trajectory.
Of course, it probably wasn't inside that
Right, you're in
cockpit.
nominal trajectory, so Dragon pointed in the right direction, continuing to make their flight uphill. Heard acquisition of signal Bermuda. That's one of the other ground stations that they're using to get telemetry and data back from this spacecraft.
Stage 2 propulsion is still nominal.
At this point now, the astronauts will probably have to change their diapers. There we go. They're in space.
A little over 4 minutes, 40 seconds into the flight. Bob and Doug flying at more than 5,600 miles
Dragon
per hour.
SpaceX nominal trajectory.
Already almost 200 miles
Nominal
downrange
trajectory.
from the Kennedy Space Center. Nominal trajectory continuing. And while they continue uphill, looks like we are getting a view of the first stage as well.
Up on your right screen, you can see that first stage with the grid fins deployed. It's making its way back to attempt to land on our drone ship, Of Course I Still Love You Today. And we're just about a couple minutes away from the entry burn, and that's where 3 of the 9 Merlin engines do ignite to help slow the vehicle down as it re-enters back into the Earth's atmosphere. And then after the entry burn will be the landing burn, which is just a single engine
Dragon
burn.
SpaceX nominal trajectory.
And
They do have batteries on board of these vehicles, by the way. They have just Tesla packs, essentially. And they didn't let me see them when I was there, but we did talk about them. And apparently they had some different packs, new versions of it, but I couldn't go in there and see them.
again, on your right screen is that first stage booster coming back towards our drone ship. Of Course I Still Love You. We're about a minute away from entry burn.
Is
Meanwhile, that second stage.
is that rocket booster coming down? Is it gonna land successfully? What say you guys?
Until 8 minutes and 44 seconds into flight, so a little over 2 minutes from now, we'll hear the call out Seco. It'll then be a little
Stage
under,
2 propulsion is still good.
a little over 3 minutes until Dragon physically separates from the second stage of the Falcon 9 after the upper
Dragon
stage gets a
SpaceX,
chance.
nominal trajectory.
Dragon copies, nominal trajectory.
Continuing to check in with Bob and Doug as they are on a nominal trajectory. Just about 10 seconds away from that first stage, starting that entry burn on your right screen. We should be able to see that view live.
Stage 1 entry burn startup.
And there is that entry burn beginning. This burn lasts about 36 seconds long.
Stage 2 FTS is saved.
While that entry burn continues, we're just about a minute away from Seco. We'll have a number of events all happen in rapid succession. That'll be the second engine cutoff.
Stage 1
we'll be looking for
down.
that stage 1 landing burn shortly after.
Actually, just within a few seconds of each other.
Yeah, that's a crazy thing. Those rockets are massive. You stand next to them, it's like the size of a building, 15-story building, and it's coming down.
Displays that they are seeing right now themselves.
Terminal guidance.
Not only coming down, it's coming down almost at supersonic speed.
We are coming up 25 seconds or so away from Seco, or second engine cutoff.
This is also the point where Bob and Doug are experiencing their highest G-force. We're seeing the counter tick up to right about 1.8.
Copy Shannon.
You heard Shannon, so that just means they're in their final abort zones. If they were to abort at this point, it would either be an abort to orbit or to land off the coast of Ireland. Standing by for second
Stage 1 landing
cutoff
startup.
confirmation.
MVAC throttle step. MVAC shutdown. Stage 1 landing line.
Confirmation of Seco's second engine cutoff.
Now we are waiting for our first stage to make its way to our drone ship. Of course, I still love you.
Dragon SpaceX, nominal orbital insertion.
Launch escape system
Confirmation
is
of
disarmed.
nominal
Dragon
orbital
copies,
insertion.
nominal
Stage 1
orbital
landing leg
insertion.
deploy.
And what you're seeing on your screen is a live view of our drone ship.
By the way, that control room right there, it's got just regular folding tables and laptops. It's not like with power strips and extension cords on the floor. It's crazy.
And there you can see on your screen, Falcon 9 has landed. This is the first Falcon 9 to carry humans to orbit, so very exciting for us. And as you can see on your right screen, Bob and Doug are still making their way to their targeted orbit.
M1D to recovery 1.
Look at that, it
exciting
landed.
today.
It doesn't stop.
It does not stop.
All right, we did hear again that call out, good orbital insertion, so that means Falcon 9 and Dragon right now exactly where they're supposed to be.
M1D to FRC on recovery 1.
And it's right at about 12 minutes when Dragon will separate. Looks like we saw a 0G indicator floating around there. I know Bob and Doug owe us a little bit about what exactly that is that they brought up with them.
And before separation, before Dragon initiates separation from the second stage, they do make sure to make
Look at the little
to
dragon.
ensure that the vehicle is not spinning and it is in good condition before we separate.
That's right, the upper stage does small attitude maneuver using some cold gas thrusters built into the rocket body itself.
Exactly. So we do expect that separation to occur in about a minute from now, but they do wait until they have full confirmation that it is ready to separate. Such cool views. I cannot get over this view that we are seeing right now. Bob and Doug on the right screen, inside of Crew Dragon, out in space.
Yeah, already 200 kilometers over planet Earth, or a little over 124 miles, traveling in excess of 2,700 meters, 27,000 meters per second, or about 16,000 miles per hour. Again, we're just standing by. That separation event should be coming up shortly. Then they'll begin a series of checks on the Draco thrusters that are going to be used to maneuver and then power Dragon on its flight to the International Space Station.
So I guess the front tip of that penis is gonna separate from the shaft, I guess. Yeah, the
Waiting for confirmation now of that.
Dragon separation confirmed.
Oh.
Dragon separation confirmed.
There is a great view right in front of you of Dragon separating. And there's that call out. Dragon is now officially making its way to the International Space Station today.
Whoa,
Dragon
look at
SpaceX
that.
with that separation call. We have a few words for you from our Falcon 9 team.
There we go.
Standing by.
Dragon, Chief Engineer on Dragon to Ground. Bob Doug, on behalf of the entire launch team, thanks for flying with Falcon 9 today. We hope you enjoyed the ride and wish you a great mission.
Thanks, Paula. Congratulations to you and the F9 team for the first human ride for Falcon 9. And it was incredible. Appreciate all the hard work, and thanks for the great ride to space.
Copy all.
Paula and Mike, proud of you guys and the rest of the team. Thank you so much for what you've done for us today, putting America back into low Earth orbit from the Florida coast.
Copy all. Good luck. Godspeed.
And there we go. I think the rest of the time here, it's gonna be. I mean, that's all the exciting parts. I think that now the rest is now they get to synchronize with the space station or whatever they have to do. I mean, for them, it's probably really interesting and nerve-wracking events still happening, right? But for us, kind of watching, it's just like, all right, now the next 19 hours they flip switches and they do little things here and there, and eventually docking. That's the bad part. We'd never have an event where they dock. It would be pretty cool to see that, because I'm sure there's quite a bit of, there's quite a bit of stuff that has to happen. Well, maybe not. Maybe it's not that. Maybe visually it's not going to be that exciting.
Gradually. Also heard good activation of the ECLIS. That's the Environmental Control and Life Support System. That's everything controlling their atmosphere, just keeping Dragon a nice, safe, habitable environment where they're going to be living for the next 19 hours until they arrive at the space station.
Right, exactly. And Falcon 9's job may be done for today, but the mission is not over. Crew Dragon's job is not done. As you can see, Bob and Doug are still inside Crew Dragon, making their way. It will be a 19-hour trip to the International Space Station before they dock tomorrow morning. And such cool views. I love that we can get these live views here and see and watch what they're doing now that they are in orbit.
Yeah, it's incredible to just be looking over their shoulder, to be along for the ride. And we're going to be with them, and we're going to be with all of you the entire way for their journey to the space station. We're going to be covering live throughout. Bob and Doug will obviously have a sleep period, where they'll get about 8 hours of sleep a little bit later today before they wake up for all of their final approach. One of the major things we are looking forward to in the next couple of hours is going to be their first turn at the controls. So they're actually going to be using those touchscreen displays to take control and manually pilot Dragon. We'll walk you through what that's going to look like, and assuming we have some good ground station coverage, we'll be able to get views from right inside Dragon, looking over their shoulder as they manipulate the controls at the display. But I mean, we had a smooth ride uphill both stages of the.
Wait, did he say they're gonna take a nap? They're gonna sleep? They just got up and just got in a rocket. Maybe this is exhausting for them because it's so nerve-wracking or something. But I heard they, well, maybe they couldn't sleep last night. You probably don't sleep the night before because you're so nervous and excited. But I heard they were up at 8 this morning. Now, I'm sure they were up earlier. At least that's what I heard. They were up at 8. Now, how many hours is that? It's not that. They've only been awake for a few hours. Well, 19 hours. There is some time in there to sleep, I guess.
Yeah, Jesse and Dan, we are just in awe over here. And I woke up this morning and looked at the weather forecast. I was like, man, we're going to be back here on Sunday, but we did it. And the room cleared out. Everybody was outside watching, and inside the lights were shaking, the cameras were shaking. Lauren came back in with tears in her eyes. This is really amazing.
I can't believe it. I saw it with my own eyes. This is...
Yeah, that's the next thing. If you guys don't believe these things are real, just go see them. Go see them. Go to launch. Get some binoculars. Look at this. Or just a camera with a long lens and point it up. Get one of those apps to see where the space station's at. You can see it. There's nothing fake. You could almost see it with your bare eyes. The rockets and the launches, you can definitely see them, right? I want to go see one eventually, because, yeah, I mean, it's one of those things, right, that you can't really experience it. It's not the same watching it on a screen like this and then going up there and seeing it. I don't know when I'll get to go see it, but I hopefully, maybe for the big one. The one that just exploded yesterday, or was it yesterday or the night before? By the way, that one is the one that is scheduled. That's the big rocket that's gonna go to Mars, supposedly, right? That one they're doing tests, and just last night, their static test went crazy, and the whole thing exploded and stuff. But they got it down. Now they know how to send rockets. It's almost like a normal thing for them, and so much that they were comfortable enough to put 2 humans on it, and it went without any problems, without a hitch, on the way to the space station.
He fought hard for this program at a time when it didn't get any support in Congress. We now have an administration that is fully supportive of our spaceflight initiatives, not just on the exploration, discovery, going to the moon, onto Mars, but also from a Space Force perspective. Our budgets are going up, things are strong, and today was just just an amazing day. One of the things the president did right out of the gate when he became president is he created what's called the National Space Council, and he put the vice president as chairman of the National Space Council. And on that National Space Council, you've got the Secretary of Defense and the Secretary of State and the Secretary of Commerce, the Secretary of Transportation, the Secretary of Education, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, all of these different amazing individuals that deal with space day in and day out. A lot of people don't realize how many parts of the federal government deal with space. And the vice president invited those members of the National Space Council here as well. So we just had, and then we had members of Congress, bipartisan members of Congress, Republicans and Democrats, who have been involved in supporting this program for a long time now. So I'll just tell you, I'm breathing a sigh of relief, but I will also tell you I am not going to celebrate until Bob and Doug are home safely. Tomorrow they're going to dock to the International Space Station. Tonight I'm heading to Houston to be at the Johnson Space Center when that happens. So it's a bit of a relief. The nose cone is now open. It's now deployed, which means that, now we're going to go into some burns. We're going to have some phasing burns. We're going to have some boosting burns, and we're going to get as much as we can in alignment with the International Space Station as early as possible here. But also, I know it's hard, but, the big thing that we need to do now is we got to get Bob and Doug, who have now gone through this exercise twice. They need to get some rest. But I can guarantee you there will be no rest for a good amount of time while they're up there in orbit.
And they are certainly on their way, and a lot of people joining us for this entire celebration and watching it. We just heard 10 million people watching live as this launch happened. And President Donald Trump becoming the third sitting president to watch a launch live from the Kennedy Space Center. The first.
To be clear, I think he's the only sitting president to watch American astronauts launch on a brand new rocket that has never launched before. And that's a big risk. You know, he also said we're going to go to the moon by 2024. That means he's putting himself at risk to say, look, I'm going to be accountable, potentially, I'm going to be accountable to the initiatives that I put forward. And I think we have not had that kind of leadership for space in a very, very long time. And we're so grateful for it.
What was it like watching the launch with the president? How did he react?
Oh, I'll tell you, it's obviously something that is near and dear to him. He said it a year and a half ago. He put it in the State of the Union speech. He said, we're going to launch American astronauts on American rockets from American soil. And of course, I was like, in my head, I'm thinking, we better get after this. Of course, we've worked overtime to make it happen. We might be a little behind schedule, but we got it done, and we got it done safely. We're knocking on wood, but so far so good. It's looking good.
You personally, Jim, as that rocket was lifting off and you felt that rumble,
yeah,
what'd you feel? What'd you experience?
Well, I was praying. I'm not going to lie to you. I was praying. I was praying for Bob and Doug. I was praying for their families. I was praying for their safe return, even though they're just going. But man, I'll tell you, it was. I've heard that rumble before, but it's a whole different feeling when you've got your own team on that rocket, and they are our team. They are America's team. This is Launch America. This is everything that America has to offer in its purest form. And times are tough right now. There is no doubt. We've got the coronavirus pandemic. We have other challenges as a country. But I hope this moment in time is an opportunity for everybody to reflect on humanity and what we can do when we work together, when we strive, and when we achieve. And if this can inspire a young child to become the next Elon Musk or the next Jeff Bezos or the next Sir Richard Branson, then that's what this is all about.
Or the next Jim Bridenstine.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't put me in that category, but...
Well, we appreciate your leadership for the Space Agency at this time, and congratulations on an amazing day in the launch.
Thank you. It's been a great ride.
All right, very good. Ree, we'll send it back to you in the studio.
Doug and Bob are on course to arrive at the International Space Station.
All right, so I think this is where I take off. Thank you for joining me watching this live event coverage of this launch tonight, today's launch. It's not that weird anymore. These are happening quite often, and they're taking stuff to the space station. They're going to space now. They're taking satellites. If you ever want to see satellites with your own eyes, I suggest going, if you're in California anyways, you go to Joshua Tree, right? And you go there in the evening, and right as the sun goes down, right, over the horizon, for a couple of hours, while the sun is still shining up in the skies, in the atmosphere, you see all kinds of satellites. I mean, you are amazed at how much junk is up there. There's ones going this way, there's going this way. You can sit there and see 3-4 of these things moving and flying over the skies there. I would suggest that. It's pretty amazing. And it shows you how crowded the skies are above us, right? And they're just going to become way more crowded now that they have things like Starlink and other companies that are throwing a bunch of these little satellites up in space so that we can have internet. Pretty soon we will have internet through satellites, and Elon's going to play a role in that. So he's already has a bunch of them out there. So anyways, yeah, I know, skepticism is a good thing. I think we should all have it and stuff, but you gotta doubt the right things. There are some things that are hard to be skeptical on, right? There's some stuff that you can get your hands, you can get your eyes on, and you can see it, and then you should be skeptical on other stuff, on the right stuff, not just on stuff that is provable. So anyways, thank you for joining me. We live in exciting times. There's a couple astronauts going to the space station right now, and that just happened. And it happened, that hardware was designed, and part of that hardware was manufactured just a few miles from here, right? If you're here in Southern California, I mean, you can go. I don't think they'll give you tours. I think I got a special thing, but you can drive by. Definitely in Hawthorne, you can drive by and see the one of those rocket boosters. It's there. It's still all tarred up from the entry, the soot or whatever is all black and stuff. You can go check it out. I think you can go and get excited about it. It's pretty cool to see cutting edge. Well, I mean, it's not even cutting edge. They did it in 1969. So it's not even that weird. It's just they're doing it now. They're doing it better. They're doing it way cheaper. And I think that's the exciting part about that. And so, yeah, go check it out. If you are interested, if you get motivated, if you get inspired by what Elon and his teams are doing, I definitely do. I am, when I need some inspiration or whatever, I just watch what that guy's doing, and I get inspired. Then I can go and do my stuff, right? So thank you for joining me. I will have a bunch of videos happening here on this channel. I've been busy working on my own shop. I'm building my own man cave where I can do projects with batteries and cars and electric cars and all this other stuff. So kind of been busy on that, but expect to see some real projects coming soon. Thank you for joining me. And then, all right, we'll see you guys later. All right, bye. All right. Here we go. Look at it go. Vieron. I don't know. Oh my god! Thursday morning. Today is the day that we power up this guy for the first time.
That is so smooth. They come in on gas, leave on electrons.
So around 2010, we started seeing the Tesla Roadster hype. And if you look at it just based on specifications, you're like, this power plant, we should be able to put this in other cars. We just kind of started a project, kind of like a technical exercise to see if we could actually build our own, kind of homebrew electric race car.
Today I'm gonna show you how to build this